More phone calls coming up. 877-3DP Show. Seton, what's the poll question for the second hour of this program?
Well, yeah, right now, hour one is just, it's pretty dominated by the offensive tackle.
Okay.
Which I get.
Okay.
We have one here from Todd, which I don't know if you're ready for. We might want to save that.
Okay, we'll save it till after Drew Brees.
Yeah, I think so.
Todd has a not safe for work limerick as well. I don't know. I'm going to have to wait and digest that one.
That seems reasonable.
Thank you, Todd. It is a Friday. You get a little Friday fritzy. I just want to make sure we're not getting too squirrely there, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, got standard. I'm a journalist.
You are a journalist. Anyone that suggests otherwise is crazy.
Today, I'm a journalist. Yes, Marvin.
Yeah, you're the Don Dada of journalists.
I'm an alligator.
Sorry.
He's Drew Brees, future Hall of Famer, Super Bowl MVP winner, and joining us on behalf of Jimmy Johns and Drew Brees, number 9. Look at all the posters back there. They're all pictures of you.
Since I'm not behind you, amongst some of the all-time broadcasting greats, I see Bob Costas, I see Al Michaels. I figured I had to kind of create my own setup back here.
Let's go back to your broadcasting career. Looking back on it, no, but I know you want to do this, and you're a competitor, and you want to be great. What is it that maybe you missed understanding or doing the first go around of your broadcasting career?
Well, here's where I kind of chuckled, Dan, because I get the perception. I get the feeling that the perception is that somehow, I failed at being a broadcaster. I got 2 opportunities to broadcast NFL games, and they were like 8 weeks apart. I did one game in New Orleans for Thanksgiving, and I did one playoff game. Otherwise, I broadcasted Notre Dame football. But really, when I took that job with NBC, the idea was to work with some of the best people in the business, the Mike Tirico, Tony Dungy, Rob Hyland, like Fred Gaudelli, all the guys that are legendary guys in that organization. And man, I'm so thankful that I had that opportunity. But at the same time, what I really did for the most part was sit behind a desk and do Sunday Night Football, the Sunday Night Football Night in America, and then a bunch of stuff in stadium at the desk, and then the Super Bowl broadcast, but again at the desk. So at the end of the day, like I chuckle because even as I look at the landscape right now, man, I have so much respect for a lot of guys in the booth right now. But I'd step in the booth right now and be a top 3 guy, like without question. And then you give me a few years and I could be the best. So look, I love the game. I love talking about the game. I feel like I have an insight to the game that is pretty unique, given my playing experience. I see the game a totally different way. I process it a different way. And so even as I watch games now, then I just kind of listen to, the commentary and this and that and what I'm seeing. I just feel like there's so much more to add. And so, look, at the end of the day, I'm going to wait for the right opportunity. And hopefully it comes along. And if it doesn't, that's okay too, because I'm coaching ball and I'm involved in the game in so many other ways. But I do feel like I have a ton of value to add in the booth. And so I'm appreciative of Netflix giving me the opportunity to broadcast on Christmas Day. And I'm not sure exactly which game that's going to be. There's 2 on the slate, but that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, but it'd be like asking you to start a game maybe in the preseason and then start a game, late in a season and say you weren't consistent. It's you need repetition in this. You got to be there week in and week out.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that it's I think the unfortunate part about just that year was that the thing I wanted to do most was broadcast NFL games. The thing I had the opportunity to do the least was broadcast NFL games. Now I had a chance to do everything, right? I was in studio, I was at the stadium, did the Super Bowl pregame. I broadcast a little college, I broadcasted a little NFL. So I got exposure to everything. And man, I retained it all, like every bit of coaching from all those guys. And I'm very appreciative of that. But when I departed because I wanted to spend more time with my kids on the weekends coaching ball. And unfortunately, that was the schedule didn't work out, having to fly to Connecticut, every week, and also doing the Notre Dame games. So it was my decision to step away from NBC. It was not theirs. They wanted me back. And again, I felt like I had a great relationship with them during that time. Unfortunately, I think it got reported a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And now somehow that's become the narrative. It could not be further from the truth. You can go talk to Pete Bavacqua, who is the head of NBC Sports. You can go talk to Sam Flood. You can go talk to any of those guys. Mike Tirico, Rob Hyland. Man, I had a great relationship with those guys, and they wanted me back. Unfortunately, the schedule just didn't work, given the fact that I wasn't really able to do what I wanted to do, which was broadcast NFL games.
Is there a statue of you in New Orleans?
No, there's not.
Would you like to have a statue of you in New Orleans?
I don't need a statue. You know what? There's a statue of Steve Gleason, and that's one of my favorites.
Well, I'm being serious. I know you're being modest here, but when you think about an athlete and what he meant to a city, I don't know if there's another athlete who meant more to a city than you did or do to New Orleans.
Look, I think all of us, if you go back to, that time, 2006, Sean Payton comes in as the head coach. I mean, literally, his first free agent signing was Scott Fujita, right? Who was a mainstay on our defense, who was one of my good friends. And then just all the little pieces that came together in 06, 07, 08, which culminated to our Super Bowl victory in 09, and then really just an incredible run throughout our 15 years there. There were so many people that were part of that. So it's not, I mean, even as you would sit here and say, hey, maybe Sean Payton and I get a lot of the credit. At the end of the day, I think we just take pride in the fact that we had a chance to be a part of something really, really special, really unique, probably unprecedented from the perspective of what happened to this city, where the team was as far as just the organization and just the perception that people had of the Saints. And then all of a sudden being able to come together and create what was, one of the greatest runs, I think, in certainly NFL history, professional sports history. And I think the reputation now of what a team means to a city, and really the standard of what a team can mean to a city. I feel like the New Orleans Saints represent that as well as anyone.
And I would have the statue of you to be the actual size. To scale, I would have it being 6 feet so people can say, wow, he did it at that height. I'm his height, or I'm taller than him. I don't want it to be 7 feet tall. I want it to be 6 feet. Maybe you think you're 6'1", but maybe it's 6 feet. Can you be too short to play quarterback in the NFL?
No, but here's the thing. If you go back to that, you need the perspective of having the lineman in front, So it's like one of those statues where you've got it's like the cavalry, and you got the big horses in front, like that's what you need for the perspective.
So you're going to be hidden behind your offensive lineman.
Yeah, you need like the 6'6" linemen that are in front of you to get the perspective. I can't see through these guys. No, I don't think you can be too short. Look, there's that prototype size that maybe we all have in our mind for each position. In fact, I'm sure there's a lot of scouts that made a great living, through the years with just having that mold or that model for each position. I know that Sean Payton had a little bit of that because he got it from Parcells. Like I was in these discussions all the time as to what certain positions were supposed to look like. Apparently, the only one that could have quite a bit of variation was the running back position. He's like Parcells used to say they come in all shapes and sizes. They just need to have a big lower half, right? Otherwise, they're going to constantly be in the shop, so to speak. They're going to be injured. So, I mean, like the Darren Sproles is right, 5'7", 180 pounds, but was one of the most dynamic players in the history of the NFL. I think from a quarterback perspective, keep in mind too, not only was I short, but I came in the league behind a guy named Doug Flutie, who, in my opinion, is one of the greatest quarterbacks in all of professional football. And obviously he played every level of it, from the USFL to the CFL to the NFL. But he was doing things that were ahead of his time. And I don't think he gets the appreciation for it. He was Patrick Mahomes before Patrick Mahomes. Everything you see Mahomes do, I saw Flutie do every day in practice, from the no-look throws to the back shoulder throws to just like manipulating defenders with his eyes, buying time. Like he just had such an incredible feel for the game. And a lot of the things he did out of survival, right? Like you think about it, I think some of the greatest innovations in history is because, hey, there was a problem that needed to be solved, or you had a limitation that you had to overcome in some way with some other sort of talent. And so like truly he did things out of survival. Like he wouldn't have been able to play the position if he wasn't able to do these things. But I had a front row seat to this for for 4 years with the San Diego Chargers, and some as his backup. And then in other cases, he is my backup. But nonetheless, he was an incredible mentor for me, and I learned so much from him. And so therefore, I would say he played the game at 5'9.5" or whatever Doug was. I don't think that's a limitation.
We're talking to Drew Brees, the future Hall of Famer, Super Bowl MVP. What are you doing with Jimmy John's?
So, well, first off, I've been a fan of Jimmy John since 1997, my freshman year at Purdue University. I showed up to Wiley Hall my freshman year, and you're staying up late studying, right, Dan? And 3:00 in the morning, you're starving, and the only place open is Jimmy John's. So you dial up Jimmy John's, and literally 15 minutes later, you got some dude rolling up on a bike to hand you a Jimmy John's sandwich. It's like the greatest bite of food in the world. So literally, that was like what I lived on 3 days a week in college. So I've had a relationship with Jimmy John's for a long time. I've been a Jimmy John's franchisee here in New Orleans. We built out this market about 15 years ago. So I've always loved the brand, and it's been a great partnership. But they're supporting our foundation. So actually, for the entire month of August, so all the way to August 31st, you can walk into a Jimmy John's and just order my favorite sandwich. And they named it after me this month. So you just say, hey, I want the Brees number 9. And basically, that's going to be ham, capicola, salami. It's the Italian nightclub. All those lettuce, tomato, onions. You get the oil and vinegar, salt, pepper, the basil oregano mix. But it's no cheese, add hot peppers. That's the little, the little extra that we throw in this to make it the Brees number 9 and not just the number 9. So and all the proceeds are going to the Brees Dream Foundation and Boys and Girls Clubs around the country. So appreciate that with Jimmy John's.
How do you know what to look for, or should we know what to look for with rookie quarterbacks in preseason?
Well, first thing I say is experience. I just take, obviously, a ton of QBs have been drafted here over the last 3 years, in the first round, or 4 years. So first and foremost, how many high level starts do they have in college? And I think that makes a huge difference. I think if you just start looking at, hey, the guys that had 40, 50, even Bo Nix, 61 starts in college, those guys come into the league a lot more well prepared. Than the guys who, there's a ton of talent, a ton of upside, a ton of potential, started 15 games, started 17 games. You just need, I think, 40 to 50 high level starts before you really kind of find that comfort level. And so if you do take a guy like that, then it's going to take 2 or 3 years. Obviously the team that you're a part of, the system that you're in, that plays a big role in it. But I think first and foremost, you have to look at experience. And then how are you building the system around him? What type of runway does he have in order to grow and develop? I think you look at the guys probably who had the most success last year, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, right? So those 2 examples. Jaden Daniels, bunch of starts at Arizona State, comes to LSU, bunch of high-level starts there. He comes in the league, I think, very well prepared. Bo Nix, 61 starts, right, between Auburn and Oregon, comes in fairly well prepared. So I think that's a big factor. I'm
wondering how we're going to look at quarterbacks in the future, because Lamar Jackson could end up with 10,000 rushing yards, which is unheard of. I mean, for a running back, 10,000 yards is a great career. Right. Josh Allen, he could end up with 8,000 yards rushing. You look at the number of touchdowns. Josh Allen's going to end up with more rushing touchdowns than any other quarterback in history. He'll move past Cam Newton. So I don't know how everybody's throwing for a lot of yards, but now you have this other category in here. How will we differentiate or assess quarterbacks, bigger picture Hall of Fame wise, when you're adding something that we really haven't seen? Michael Vick gave us this, Steve Young a little bit, Cam Newton gave us. Now it feels like, as Steve Young told me many times, there's yards to get. Go get them if you're a quarterback.
Look, it's a great point. It's a great point, because I think when you start talking about QBs in history and the comparisons, you immediately go to the passing statistics. And obviously in today's game, it's so much more than that. At the end of the day, what's your job? Your job is to go put your team in the end zone. And so however you can do that, it doesn't matter whether it's through the air or on the ground. I think that Steve Young quote is a great one. There's yards to get, go get them. There's first downs to get, go get them. So however you can do that. That's why the whole QB rating thing is always so wonky, right? Because it's like, well, how are we really evaluating the efficiency or the productivity of a quarterback when you have all these different layers to it. I mean, you should have somebody sitting there going, man, he threw the ball away. That was actually an incredible decision. That shouldn't work against him on the QB rating, right? So like you have all these factors. And at the end of the day, did you possess the ball? Did you get first downs? Did you push your team in the end zone? Did you score points? Was that complimentary to your defense? Did that get you the win? I mean, that's truly how you should be evaluated.
Well, also when you don't take a sack, I mean but like there's little things. I agree. QBR to me, I don't like it. I want to know if you won the game. It's the most important thing.
Yeah.
But they don't have a category.
Yeah. Look, I think you actually brought up a good point. I think one of the greatest traits of a quarterback that is never discussed, especially in the evaluation of it, is their ability to avoid sacks and avoid negative plays. That when you just start looking at the probabilities and the percentages of success on, 3rd and 6 versus 3rd and 10, and just like your ability to avoid negative plays. And a lot of times too, that could just be, hey, I have a decision when I walk up to the line of scrimmage to run the ball right, run the ball left, to run it inside, to run it outside. And the decision that you make in large part could be the difference between a 2 or 3 yard gain or a 1 yard loss. And so there's so many of these decisions that are made within the framework of a game where if I'm evaluating QBs and I'm sitting there watching the tape, I want to know what type of decision maker they are. Because if they are making more good decisions, then good results will follow. There's a lot of things that we can fix fundamentally and whatever. Hey, you missed a throw, but you threw it to the right place and you're on time. That's fine. We can fix that, right? But if you have a great decision-making process and you're consistently making good decisions and you're avoiding sacks and you're putting yourself in favorable positions, meaning high probability for success positions, then you're going to win a ton of games. And I think when you really start to break it down, that's what you're looking for.
Great to catch up with you again. Hope the family's well, and good luck with Jimmy John's and Boys and Girls Clubs of America.
Thank you, DP.
That's future Hall of Famer there, Drew Brees. His longest run, 23 yards. He ran for 700 yards in his career. That's Lamar. That's a down year for Lamar running. But he wasn't paid, right? But you weren't paid to run. You weren't paid to run. You could have been elusive, right?
Hey, move the chains, get your team in the end zone.
Okay.
I'd much rather throw it to the guys that know what they're doing.
Could you outrun Peyton Manning?
Absolutely. Smoke him, crush him.
Could you outrun
He's got
Tom
short
Brady?
legs. He's all torso. Oh, Brady?
Yeah.
Brady would be at the 25-yard line when I cross the 40.
Wow. How would you do against Lamar Jackson?
No, he would be at the 40. I'd be at the 40.
You're still competitive. Thank you, buddy. We'll take a break. More phone calls after this.